Zion Williamson's another 2 to 3 weeks out from just practicing with the team. What is going on between him and the Pelicans in this injury? Let's break it down in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, here with y'all on this Tuesday. We got a big show. We got a lot to talk about with the Zion Williamson injury news. 2 to 3 weeks out from just practicing with the team. This is a far cry from being ready on opening night. It feels like they're way behind the timeline. We're going to discuss this from all angles. What's going on? Who's lying to you about this? And why this is so bad for the franchise to have this occurring. So it's a big show here. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen every single day. We are free and available 5 days a week for you all, breaking down the biggest news stories around the Pelicans, analyzing them from every angle, whether it's Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, just the team as a whole. It's kind of always interesting here in New Orleans. And of course, the biggest news right now is that Zion Williamson is going to be out longer. He is doing some contact work with the team, or explosive work with the teams. He's doing more than just running in a straight line. He's playing 5-on-none, so he's doing team activities. But he's still 2 or 3 weeks out from just getting into 5-on-5 and being a full participant in practice, and then starting to think about his return to on-court work in the NBA regular season. That's a far cry from when David Griffin made it seem like he was going to be ready on opening night. Zion himself said he was going to be ready on opening night at Media Day, and now they're nowhere even close to him just practicing yet. He's got to go through another set of scans on his foot. The good news is, look, doctors, according to head coach Willie Green, say he's progressing in his recovery from a right pinky toe fracture, but they don't quite know when all of that's going to be. Again, like I said, it's just way off from the original timeline. And this isn't great, right? We're going to look at this and try and assign blame because that's just kind of the society we live in. No one's blameless in something like this. And it's tough for me to even be able to talk about, even speaking to people within the organization and with Zion's camp too, because we don't get the full picture of what's going on. So we're trying to kind of piece together what happened, and it's making us jump to a lot of conclusions and a lot of assumptions. So a lot of what I'm going to say here is a lot of speculation. Things you're thinking about this, whether you're mad at Zion, whether you're mad at the team, or whether you're mad at both, are kind of based on assumptions because we do not have the whole picture here because people are lying to you. They're lying to me. Everyone around this situation is lying, and that is a terrible, terrible thing. And Zion's going to be fine eventually. The team will be fine eventually. The people that suffer because of these lies and the setback are fans like you, like me. Maybe you would have made different season ticket choices, right? Maybe you would have bought different tickets to a single game. Maybe you wouldn't stay up late watching the game. All of those things, right? And with cutbacks to the in-arena experience, whether that's due to COVID or other things, and some of those predate a lot of the COVID-related issues we've seen, it kind of feels like, what's the point with this team if they're going to disrespect you like that? Whether it's Zion disrespecting you or David Griffin disrespecting you, but if they're going to disrespect you like that by lying to you, who cares with a team that's 1-5, right? 1-6, whatever their record is, 1-6, with a game tonight against the Phoenix Suns. Why should you stay up till midnight watching a 1-6 team play? They're not giving you very many reasons to doing that. And we're going to get into a little bit more about why this situation is so damning in the third segment of today's show. But this is an overall really bad thing. And look, it sucks that Zion's not going to be out there on the court because the team is struggling. I've done a couple shows the past 2 days on why I think they're better than what their record indicates, but they still also need Zion Williamson back. It's really kind of that simple. And if they really want things to turn around, they've got a lot of work ahead of them because Brandon Ingram is still a little bit banged up with that right hip injury, and we don't know if we're going to see him in the game tonight against the Phoenix Suns. It is already making this feel like a bit of a lost year. You know, we are 7 games into the season. Game 8 is tonight. And it feels like, what's the point? Like we should be looking at mock drafts, like we should be actively tanking and not playing Brandon Ingram or any of the good players on the team to try and get a high lottery pick to try and keep this rebuild going a little bit further. And this isn't where the team was supposed to be this year. This isn't what the expectations were that anybody had. And it sucks that it's less than 10 games into the regular season. We're about a tenth of the way through, and it feels like it's over. And that's a crappy thing for you, the fans, and everyone kind of around and associated with this team. But look, it's one thing just to be bad, but it's another thing to kind of have the franchise actively lie to you. But let's look at some of those lies coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. But before we get to that, today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by PrizePicks. All right, NBA fanatics, have you heard about PrizePicks? PrizePicks is the daily fantasy sports game made easy. I love this, and I know you will too. PrizePicks has the best daily fantasy sports prop game on the market, and PrizePicks offers more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator. They offer all the superstars as well as bench players, only recording a handful of minutes each game. You want to get in on the over-unders with Herb Jones, who's been a standout? Because I do. And you know how well he's going to play, and that's probably an undervalued play right there. That's who you want to go after. And PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from yardage to touchdowns, interceptions thrown, three-pointers made, minutes, all of those things. PrizePicks has them for you. So anyone who makes a deposit and uses the promo code NBA is going to get a 100% instant match up to $100. You put in $100, you use promo code NBA, you're going to get another $100. And it's really simple to play. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. And PrizePicks allows mixed sports entries. You can take the over on LeBron James combined with the under on Patrick Mahomes in the same entry. So use their award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play, and entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's really that easy. PrizePicks is safe and offers the quickest withdrawals, so don't hesitate. Check out PrizePicks.com, use promo code NBA, or go to your App Store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made simple. All right, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen every single day. There's a lot to talk about with this team, always, right? And we're here 5 days a week for free, no paywall or anything like that, just breaking down what's going on, giving you straight talk about this team, and about to call a whole bunch of people liars, because that's what they are right now. So let's look at that, right? As I said, there's a lot of lying going on. They're lying to me, they're lying to you, and that's a real bad thing. So why is Zion not ready yet, right? We know what the injury is. It's a Jones fracture of his 5th metatarsal. It's the pinky toe. Again, he's a big dude jumping up and down. This is something that can linger a little bit, but the timeline is usually around 10 weeks. If it occurred during the middle of the season, you miss about half the year, according to InStreetClothes.com. But this one occurred before Summer League started. So we're not anywhere close to him missing that many games during a regular season. And right now he's on pace to miss about 30. If he comes back, say mid-December, December 15th or something like that, it's going to be about 30 games missed. In theory, the timeline could have had him ready for the NBA opening season or opening night of the regular season. What happened? We don't know, right? They both said, Zion himself said he's going to be ready on opening night. Griff said he's going to be ready on opening night, despite what Griff will tell you that he just said regular season, whatever that means. But when you look at this injury, when we have the history of the injury here, we know that it doesn't take this long. So was there a setback? Was there a setback? This is how you can fix a lot of this, right? Just straight up say, there was a setback, things aren't progressing as we wanted, and people understand. It would have turned the questions around on Zion Williamson, though, and his weight and all of those issues, which I'm sure they don't want to do, but it's the truth, and it'll stop kind of the furor of the fan base by at least being transparent, letting people know, and let them set and adjust and make decisions accordingly to all of that and setting their expectations. So it could be Griff just wanting to keep an optimistic tone. It could be him just wanting to sell tickets and thinking about the business side of things to start the year. He's lied to us before. You know, he might not know how to play piano like an expert, but he got keyboards and can play a little bit, right? So they have a history about lying with injuries, particularly around Zion too. So it could just be them trying to kind of keep things cloudy and murky, you know, kind of keep your enemies confused kind of thing. But it also could be Zion's camp, right? And again, speculation on all of this because we don't have the whole picture, so it's tough. People want to rush to judgment and conclusion and go, Zion's getting bad info from his stepdad and his mom. And all. Like, we don't know, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it because it makes logical sense. is Zion's camp kind of deciding what's going on with these injuries, right? He's kind of done this before where they've asked that the team keep injuries quiet. Is he being upfront with the team about what the injury was? Did they actually know that he broke his foot all the way in July, like when Griff said they've been in lockstep of the entire way? Were they not and just doing that and saying that to save face? Was someone from the team actually in the room when the surgery was being performed? That's what they said. But was it? Is this return to timeline just Zion coming back and going, I'm going to be ready on opening night. You go out and say that, Griff, because he wants to appease his superstar player. It could be. I'm not saying yes or no either way. It's probably a more complex answer, right? But it definitely could be. And so is Griff just not trying to piss off his star player? Zion is injured. He doesn't have to speak to the media right now, so we're not getting his side of anything. And it's just all silent, which means Twitter, message boards, me here on the show, the text messages on my phone, which another one literally just kind of came through right now, are all kind of speculating about what it is. And it's probably making it out to be worse than it actually is. And that's not good for anybody right now. But Zion's silence is kind of saying a lot. And he's done this before when he wasn't going to address things about his team and his future with the team, if he likes it here or not. And he shouldn't address that stuff. But they need to kind of come in and make this a little bit clearer, because fans are starting to turn on him. And you guys have heard me where I've been a little bit more forgiving of him. And I'm going to come in hard on this, because if this is the case, he needs to grow up and take this more seriously than what it's going on. There's some issues with him not trusting Aaron Nelson because of the way Aaron Nelson and the team handled his return from injury his rookie year. And he didn't like those bursts, the minute restrictions. He just wanted to go out and play. And I get it, right? But that's one of the best in the frickin' business. Whoever you want to listen to probably isn't going to be better than Aaron Nelson. And he's fixed a lot of the injury issues that New Orleans has had over the past couple of years. You feel a little bit less snake bit and voodoo cursed than we've had in the past. And that's a lot in part due to Aaron Nelson. So if you're not going to listen to that guy that kind of rejuvenated Shaq's career, Steve Nash's career, Amari Stoudemire's career, we can go on and on and on about some of these guys, right? You're not going to listen to that. It's like not listening to an expert who's an expert in their field because you listen to something on Facebook, right? Like that's kind of what this is with Zion to a degree. If he's not listening to Aaron Nelson, you've got to grow up and trust the expert and think that they're going to try and do what's best for you, because this isn't just a year 3 for you thing. This is a year 17, 15 thing in the NBA for Zion Williamson. So he needs to grow up and take this more seriously than he is. He's missed some things with the team. What those were, not quite sure. Were they important? Who knows? Maybe there were reasons for that. But he's got to take this seriously. And it's very clear that he hasn't done it to the degree that he should. Maybe he's taking it 80% seriously, but that's not enough. You got to do it 100%. And if Zion's trying to do this to kind of protect his image, right, and not appear injury prone or things like that, you're doing worse. You're doing your image worse by not saying anything and about lying to be like, oh no, I'm not hurt. Now people are just screaming he's fat and analyzing every 30-second clip we get of him dribbling before a game. How many sweatshirts is he wearing? Like, you don't want that, man. Just be upfront. Look, I had a setback. It's not going as well as I would have wanted. And problem solved, if that's what's going on. But this silence leading everyone to speculate is hurting you and the team more than you realize, and it is not in your best interest to do that. All it would take is say, this is what happened. Whatever it is. All it would take for everything to be okay was to be upfront in the first place on media day, or not even spring this on people on media day, when literally I was in the room, everyone was blindsided by this. ESPN, The Athletic, The Advocate, no one freaking knew at all. That's a little surprising for an injury of this magnitude. So whether it's Zion or Griff, the lying needs to stop, because this is a damaging situation for the franchise. And I'll explain what that is and why that is coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. But before we get to that, today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Shopify. Cha-ching! That's the sound of another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big businesses, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronizing online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed about what's going on with your business. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility, and Shopify helps you make your entrepreneurial dreams come true. I love how Shopify has the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed, from down the street to around the globe. I used to work in banking for a number of years, and I worked with a lot of small businesses. Getting the tools to grow your business is not easy. Sometimes they can cost a lot of money. Sometimes they're just kind of reserved unless you meet a certain amount of revenue. Shopify is here for you, and they power over 1.7 million businesses. From the first full scale to startups, whatever it might be, reaching customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and more. They make it so easy for you to try and grow your business, and they kind of unlock everything. It allows you to gain insight as you grow with a detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins, and beyond. You've always got to know your numbers when it comes to your business, and Shopify is going to help you do that. So go to shopify.com/lockedonnba, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/lockedonnba right now. Shopify.com/lockedonnba. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is also brought to you by BetOnline.ag. We're back and better than ever. BetOnline has a new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. So BetOnline remains your number one spot for all your basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop site or mobile website, sign up today, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. It's free money right there. It's like you've already won a bet. If you think the Pelicans are going to surprise people, because again, they're better than their record indicates, get in on the spread. Make some money off of your sports knowledge. So whether it's basketball, football, baseball in the World Series here, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. All right, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms 5 days a week. No paywall, anything like that. Just Pelicans talk here for you all when you need it on a day like today with the news around Zion Williamson. And don't forget, for your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On Saints with the excellent host Ross Jackson, who I finally got to meet in person over the weekend. He was in town to cover the game and the big win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but now Jameis Winston out for the season. So what are the Saints going to be doing with their QB situation? Ross is going to be covering it all over at Locked On Saints, so make sure that is your second listen every single day. So we're talking about the Zion Williamson stuff, right? We kind of laid out the timeline of when he might return. He might be missing 30 games or so, kind of on the more optimistic side of things. But the bigger part of this is this team's lying, or Zion's lying. And this is a really damaging thing, and the lying needs to stop. There's a couple of reasons for this, and the first revolves around Zion Williamson. It's probably coddling him a little too much, if that's what's really going on here, right? If they're kind of acquiescing to whatever demand he has, it's never going to force him to kind of grow up and maybe be the player that he needs to be, to take this as seriously as he should be. If he can just be like, cool, I got leverage and power over this team. They're terrified of losing me, and they're a little scared of that on the inside. So let me see what I can do here. At a certain point, like, I don't mind giving some star players some leeway that others wouldn't, right? Like, you think of the Chicago Bulls letting Dennis Rodman go to Vegas for a couple of days in the middle of the year. Like, it worked out. He needed that. That was the right thing. You probably don't need to do that for a third-year player. Small market, though he's the number one overall pick, maybe a little bit, but you got to kind of take a stand here because you don't want to coddle him too much. Look at Ben Simmons, right? He has not grown as a player in his entire time in the league. The shooting hasn't improved. They've tried to get him shooting coaches and other people to work with, and he's just, screw that. I'm not going to do it. And now things have fallen apart with the 76ers at a time when they need him the most, when he failed in the postseason for him because of that, right? At a certain point, they need to face reality, and if you keep coddling people, it's not going to happen. Yes, keeping Zion is really important and something that needs to be top of mind, but he also is under team control. And as long as he doesn't take that qualifying offer, he's going to be a restricted free agent. You can match anything. He might be unhappy, but he can at least be here, and you're under no obligation to trade him. So have a little bit more backbone and take a stand. And if he takes the qualifying offer, I don't know. I'm doing like the shrug emoji here. It just kind of is what it is. But at a certain point, if he's ever to reach his full potential, he's got to kind of wake up, right? And again, speculation and big ifs on everything I've been saying today. But if you know you have him under team control and you're not that worried about the qualifying offer, yeah, you've got to take a little bit of a stand, I think, here, because it's in the best interest of his NBA career. And if things are so frosty between Zion and David Griffin, and they can't kind of be fixed and no one's willing to grow up, then Griff's probably the guy that needs to kind of fall on the sword, and it's unfortunate, and it probably isn't his fault to an extent. He deserves a lot of flack, and I've given him a lot of flack on this. And I don't know if he's in the wrong on this one, to be perfectly honest. But it doesn't mean you can keep this situation if it's kind of this untenable and if the star player's kind of having this many issues, unless you're willing to just lose him to save David Griffin. But if you lose Zion, you probably want to go a different direction than David Griffin anyway. So kind of some tough talk we got to have here with everything. But a larger part, though, that I think is kind of getting forgot about is you, the fans, right? The lying needs to stop because the franchise and Zion are absolutely going to turn the fan base against the team with these sorts of decisions and these lies, right? Zion's kind of somewhat close to becoming a villain and having the fan base turn on him to a certain degree. And again, rampant speculation around him. People don't trust a thing that David Griffin says anymore, right? You feel like there's no transparency there. It feels like David Griffin is lying to you whenever he speaks. It's kind of felt that way for a little while. And then you kind of look at what's going on around the organization, right? They've cut back on the season ticket holder beer garden. You don't see those kind of fun games and promotions between timeouts anymore. And maybe some of that was COVID related, and we're still dealing with some of that, especially on-court stuff. But it started to happen before the pandemic and when they first kind of had this new regime come in. So they've been scaling a lot of things back, right? No more season ticket holder discounts, anything like that. And if you're going to kind of remove a lot of those perks and then actively lie to the fan base and make them feel that they can't trust you with their money. And look, a lot of season ticket holders are upset right now over this Zion thing because it sounded like he was going to be ready on opening night. No one's really given an explanation for why he's not playing yet. It's not a great thing. It's one of those situations that could actively turn people off from the team due to them feeling that the franchise does not respect them. It's one thing to be a bad team and just have a bad record and no one shows up because you're not good, right? But when you're good again, the people will come back. But it's another thing to lie to people and to treat them almost with disrespect, which is kind of what I'm feeling here and seeing here. And those people won't come back when the team starts winning, if they start winning, let's say, right? Disrespect isn't going to work here in New Orleans. And the franchise has definitely kind of taken a bit of a turn with that, with the just constant lying about things and the corporate jargon and that corporate speak that David Griffin likes. You're going to actively turn people off, I think. And that's not what you want at all. So have some transparency. Stop the lying. And if that means you throw Zion under the bus to a certain degree, again, you have that team control over him unless he takes the qualifying offer. And if you don't think that that's going to happen, it's not a concern. And you can kind of weather this storm a little bit because, frankly, it's probably what needs to happen for him to just wake up and do what he needs to do to become the best player possible and try and prevent these injuries from happening. It's not going to be a good career if you're only playing in 50% of your team's games and you're not going to win because you're the best player. Right? What's this team's record if they have Zion so far this year? It's not 1-6. You know, you'd be paying attention to the game tonight against the Phoenix Suns. And I don't know if you, dear listener, are going to be doing that. So the lying and the disrespect, you know, kind of there's limits on that. And that's going to actively harm the franchise and the fan base and kind of create a big, deep divide there. And that's something that's really tough to heal from. And that's why the lying needs to stop. I don't know how you untangle the mess that we're in right now, that Zion and the franchise have kind of put themselves in, but you need to find a way to do it. And you need to find a way to do it soon, and you need to be straight up with people and honest. Shoot them straight, as I'm fond of saying, and then just go forward and win some basketball games probably more next season than this year because, again, I think Zion's missing at least 30 games or so now. So stop the lying, start treating the fan base with more respect, and everyone just act like frickin' adults. If that means people don't go to games because the team's bad right now, you've just got to weather that storm and maybe cut prices and things like that next year to kind of get back in their good graces and make it worthwhile. But it's better than turning people off for good with lying and a lack of respect towards fans. So everyone just grow up. That's all you need to do. So thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen every single day. We're going to talk about Nickeil Alexander-Walker tomorrow and the game against the Phoenix Suns tonight. Now, for your second listen, make sure it's Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Host Josh Lloyd has the #1 daily fantasy basketball show on the planet. It's free and available on all platforms, so go check it out. And as always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NolaJake on Twitter. And I'll be back with you all tomorrow to cover Nickeil, the game, and hopefully nothing that surprises us.